And so why do they hate him? They hate him because he once in a while would tell the truth that you're not allowed to tell. Like there's a deep state, a permanent state that actually runs things. There's and Chuck Schumer also said that about Donald Trump when Donald Trump was telling people that the CIA and the FBI, there is a deep state and they're the ones pulling the strings on this stuff. Chuck Schumer said it's really foolish of him to do that.
This was his tweet just a little while ago tonight. You see the scare quotes there. The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
Let me tell you, you take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know. From what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
From what I am told, they are very upset about how he has treated them and talked about them, end quote. Very upset. Got it? There's no mistaking what that was. That's a threat.
But that's the leader of the Democratic Party in the Senate saying that the president of the United States should be afraid of the CIA. Right. He said it on fucking camera, and everybody was like, Trump's crazy. What? No. Chuck Schumer just told you who runs this goddamn country, and the president better watch his ass. He better not cross the CIA. That's what the leader of the Democratic Party said, who, by the way, he's not a leader. He's a puppet of Wall Street.
Our country's most powerful tools of intelligence were weaponized against a private citizen and a presidential campaign, transition team, and president. This all in 2016 and 17.
In 1,000 different ways, the new president refused to bow. And for that crime, more than any other crime, he was punished.
17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed to influence our election.
17 of our intelligence agencies.
Look, this was put out there as weaponized information. This was put out there for purposes of the Democrat Party, people like Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, all the others, to put this up as a weapon against President Trump.
Look, I don't use this word lightly. I think this assessment was rigged. I think it was rigged to come up with the most negative conclusion possible to hurt Mr. Trump and to produce the conclusion that the Obama White House and the mainstream media was looking for. From my experience in the intelligence community, I can't see this any other way.
The unanimous conclusion of the 17 entities that make up the U.S. intelligence community that the Russian government sought to sow discord in our political process and undermine the Clinton campaign.
17 different United States intelligence agencies have concluded that Vladimir Putin and his Russian operatives interfered with our election in order to help Donald Trump.
Did Russia intervene to help Trump win? There's no evidence of that. That's a key Democratic talking point, and frankly, I think it is something that was fabricated by intelligence agencies to hurt Mr. Trump by the Obama administration and by pro-Obama intelligence officials.
Unfortunately, under President Obama, the Intelligence Committee was turned internally against his enemies, and this is another example of that.
So even before the election, Charlie, the entire U.S. intelligence community believed that the Russians were interfering in the election.
That includes the FBI.
It includes the FBI.
Okay.
It wasn't clear at that time the motive. What's changed now, and this is not official, right? This is all based on leaks. And this is not official, right? This is all based on leaks. What's changed now is it seems like the CIA believes that the intent here was to advantage Donald Trump and disadvantage Hillary Clinton in the election.
It was a lie. That's the bottom line. Russian collusion was a lie. We know that now with absolute certainty from the IG report.
People, and I believe it was either John Brennan, Ben Rhodes, someone at that level, Jim Clapper, who purposely set this information out there. And you have political appointees like these guys doing the wrong thing, manipulating and weaponizing information.
This morning, in response to publication of the unverified information, Mr. Trump tweeted, "Intelligence agencies should never have allowed this fake news to leak into the public."
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. And that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do.
It all started back during the campaign when a former British intelligence officer, acting as a private investigator, asked his Russian sources for dirt on Mr. Trump. He collected 35 pages of it, including tales of financial and sexual misbehavior, but no evidence that any of it was true.
The man, who in just 10 days' time will be sworn in as the leader of the free world, began by dismissing the lurid allegations of sexual behavior in a Russian hotel room and commended those who'd chosen not to report them.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. And it was gotten by opponents of ours. It was a group of opponents that got together, sick people, and they put that crap together.
Inspector General's report confirming the allegations in the debunked dossier could not be corroborated. So will the media apologize for getting it wrong?
Yeah, the story goes these three PR and investigative old friends are sitting around just telling stories that they'd heard, gossip, nothing more than gossip. One of those individuals, Igor Danchenko, works for Christopher Steele.
Christopher Steele, he's a former MI6 agent. He was stationed in Russia, and he was a hired hand for Fusion GPS, which was a political opposition company based in Washington, D.C.
Christopher Steele's been hired by Fusion GPS, who was hired by Hillary Clinton's campaign law firm to look into Donald Trump.
Now turns out that the phony allegations against me were put together by my political opponents and a failed spy afraid of being sued. Totally made up facts by sleazebag political operatives, both Democrats and Republicans. Fake news. Russia says nothing exists. Probably released by intelligence, even knowing there is no proof and never will be.
I don't know where to start. This thing goes on forever. There's nothing factual about the dossier at all.
This dossier is filled and riddled with all sorts of different erroneous allegations about Donald Trump. It also has salacious information about then-candidate Trump.
It wasn't like when the dossier is handed over to the FBI, they just take it hook, line, and sinker, and, well, case closed. They investigated everything that was in the dossier and corroborated most of it.
This all originated from gossip and hearsay at a hotel bar between three individuals.
They investigated everything that was in the dossier and corroborated most of it.
Thinking it's all going to be vetted and it will be, more than hotel gossip. It isn't. Steele takes it and runs with it.
And this was the central document that the FBI apparently relied upon to go forward with its spying of the Trump campaign.
And according to the Inspector General, there were at least 17 significant failures, inaccuracies, and omissions.
And the next thing you know, here you have in BuzzFeed this hotel gossip about Donald Trump and the P-tape, the lurid details of the P-tape in Russia.
Right.
The Clinton campaign has been fined $8,000 and the DNC slapped with a $105,000 penalty after a 2016 letter revealed that they violated campaign finance rules. The FEC says both parties failed to properly report payments for opposition research and the production of the dossier, instead labeling the payments legal services.
As you were pointing out, this was a dossier full of lies that the FBI used to spy on a member of the Trump campaign leading up to the election.
It may be dirty, but it ain't fake. Is there anything in the dossier that has been disproven?
No, I guess the short answer to the question.
Has anything been soundly disproven about the Steele dossier? And I would agree with Jim Clapper. I haven't seen anything.
Because a lot of these facts have not been disproven.
It's not been corroborated, but it hasn't been disproven either.
The dossier, in fact, is far from bogus.
The dossier is far from bogus. This portion of the dossier hasn't been publicly proven or definitively disproven.
The so-called intelligence in the dossier was nothing but garbage, lies, conspiracy theories, uncorroborated garbage based on one single source, never corroborated, never verified. In fact, as we told you, it was unverifiable.
We finally all know, it's finally been confirmed, the Steele dossier was always fabricated to smear Donald Trump and skew the results of the election.
When did the FBI decide to start working with the Clinton campaign to take down her political enemy?
To date, none of it has been disproven, and whole big parts of it are holding up.
The dossier holds up well. None of it has been disproven, as you said.
It's a fact that none of it, not one word, has been disproven. In fact, a lot of it turned out to be right on the money.
Look, they fight dirty, they're deceptive, especially when you look at how they label this as legal advice. So
Not only did they hack into the opposing campaign and steal material, like in the case of Watergate, but then they hacked into the office of the president of this great country, according to Durham's blockbuster filing late Friday.
Today, the New York Times did report, based on just a widespread leaking from people who were involved in the investigation, that yes, people are now admitting they were spying on the Trump campaign in a fairly widespread fashion. It wasn't just Carter Page. It was 4 top officials. They weren't just using FISA wiretaps. They were also using national security letters and human intelligence, at least one human intelligence source. So this is busting wide open, and I think people will start demanding a little bit more in terms of just what the FBI and other intelligence agencies were thinking when they began spying on the political campaign of a major party.
The Clinton campaign found no evidence in any form or fashion that Trump was a Russian asset, so they just fabricated all of this out of thin air.
So the CIA is an agency that has repeatedly got caught lying in the past. It's designed to disseminate propaganda, and they're currently in open warfare with the person who was just elected president of the United States. They were behind Hillary Clinton's campaign. So I agree that once the CIA briefs the president and president-elect on this document, it becomes newsworthy to report that fact, but the mere fact that the CIA tried to enshrine this document in a cloud of authenticity or credibility doesn't, for me as a journalist, convince me at all that the claims are true. I want to see evidence first to believe that the claims are true.
Hang on a second. You're calling the CIA partisan. Are you basically suggesting that if Donald Trump then goes on to ignore everything that the CIA tells him, that's no great loss to America?
No, I didn't say anything even remotely like that. What I said was that
the CIA... Well, you suggested that the CIA was partisan, that it was pitted against the president-elect.
Well, that's absolutely true. The former head of the CIA, Michael Morrell, went to the New York Times and endorsed Hillary Clinton. George Bush's CIA head, General Hayden, went to the Washington Post and did the same thing. They both accused Trump of being a recruit of Vladimir Putin.
So in that case,
they were in agreement with Hillary Clinton's view.
Whatever they tell him now, he would have to take with a pinch of salt because he would see them as a partisan organization. Is that what you're essentially suggesting?
I would say that any rational human being with even minimal history of the United States and the CIA would take everything that the CIA says with a huge grain of salt. I would call it actually a dose of rational skepticism.
Liberals used to be worried about things like this, not anymore.